Hello my friends, welcome to my channel, Lindy's Magpie Reads. If you're new here, I'm Lindy. I read a lot, and what I mean by that is I read pretty much a book a day. So in the past week I have finished 10 books, but that is too many for one video, so I'm going to talk about 7 of those today, and I'm also going to talk about other stuff that's been going on in my life. If you're here for the books, there are timestamps down below, so you can just skip ahead to the books. For the rest of you, what have I been doing lately? I've got a project that I'm really excited about. On July 1st, I'm going to be leading a lesbian history walk in downtown Edmonton with the wonderful Michelle Lavoie, and I am going to link information down below in case any of you are available or around and would like to join us. It's a free walking tour, and it's been a trip down memory lane organizing this. June is the best time for flowers in Edmonton. The roses are all blooming in my garden, and out in the country wild roses are out. We went out to visit a friend's property, which is about an hour outside of Edmonton on the banks of the Pembina River. Had a great time. Oh, it was just lovely. And it was like snow was happening because there was so much poplar fluff in the air. I didn't get videos of the poplar fluff flying, but I did get a shot of this giant clump of poplar fluff caught in a high bush cranberry bush when we were walking to the river, and so I'll show you that. And this is the high bush cranberry flower. Our friend out there made these gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches to die for, and then she sent me home with leftover bread. So I used that bread to try a new to me recipe called summer pudding. So those of you who are British will for sure know what I'm talking about. You press bread into a bowl and then cook berries and fill it up and chill it, and then you turn it upside down and pour the thickened berry juice on top, and then serve it with ice cream or creme fraiche, or in my case it was whipped cream. I got the recipe from Anna Jones' The Modern Cook's Year, in case you're interested. I think it turned out great. So I made this for our literary salon. This is a monthly event that we take turns hosting, and it was our turn this past week. What we do at these literary events is we have a theme. In this case it was art, and we choose poems or other pieces of literature to read to our friends. A lovely, lovely evening. It's also spruce tip time, so when the new growth on the spruce trees come out, those spruce tips or spruce buds are delicious. They're tender, they're tart and lemony. Each spruce tree could have a slightly different flavor, so if you're interested in trying it, keep that in mind. I've done all kinds of things with spruce tips, and this year I made spruce tip mayonnaise and spruce tip ice cream. Our weather has been warmer than usual lately. It's supposed to go up to 31 later today, so ice cream is a fun thing to have, and I adore coming up with new flavors. So in addition to the spruce tip ice cream, I also made lavender and lemon. That was actually a special request from one of my neighbors who really likes it. And I made a coffee and espresso with rum, and a Slovak herbal honey ice cream. Okay, Now I'm going to tell you about books, starting with Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. The plot is bananas, but I don't care about that. I mean, I'll read Thomas Hardy. It's no more off the wall than Thomas Hardy. It's about a young white author who steals the manuscript from a dead writer, a Chinese-American writer, and passes it off as her own. Well, tries to pass it off. Question that keeps you turning the pages is she going to get caught? It's actually such a page turner, and you know, I could see train wreck coming from a mile off, but in what way is it going to crash? I actually had to take a break, set it aside for a while, because it's just too much drama for me. There aren't any characters to root for in here. They've all got their flaws, even the dead girl's mother, although, you know, mainly it's that she's kind of weak-willed. Anyway, 4.5 stars. It has got such a smart take on Western literary culture and ambition, and I recommend it. Next up is a children's graphic novel, The Sprite and the Gardener, by Abrego and Joe Whitt. Did all of the illustrations for this, as far as I know, and she started out with a single one-page story, and then Joe Whitt helped her to expand it into a larger graphic novel. There isn't really a plot. It is just these adorable nature sprites who are named for flowers, including the central character Wisteria, who's on the cover. Just waiting for that helicopter to pass. So humans have taken up the gardening occupation, leaving these sprites with nothing to do but just kind of hang out and enjoy nature. But Wisteria wants to feel more of a purpose in life, and so she helps out this young human, and it's just absolutely adorable, sweet story for all ages, and with these gorgeous, gorgeous illustrations. Now, the reason that I picked this up is because Dia of Novel Idea thought that she had heard about it from me. And the first I heard about it was on her channel, saying that she heard about it from me. So thank you, Dia, for mentioning it, and to whoever it was that brought it to Dia's attention, because it's a delight. Next up is another children's graphic novel, The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. Kay is a non-binary artist and comics creator from New Zealand. They also did the Tea Dragon Society and some other great stuff. Like their other works, this one is chock full of diversity, queer representation and relationships, characters with disabilities, and of all kinds of shapes and body forms. They're kind of anthropomorphic fantasy creatures that are a blend of human and animals. The story is about kindness and community responsibility, and a young person who feels like she has to prove her worth. So the mental health aspect is there as well. My next 3 books are all translations from Japanese to English, and I'm going to start with this one. So another graphic novel. It's actually a manga series, The Way of the House Husband, and it's by Kousuke Oono. Our main character used to be known as the Immortal Dragon, and he was feared within the Yakuza community. He's quit the gangster lifestyle and stays at home while his wife goes to work. And in this issue, he tries a bunch of different things to stay fit, including dance classes and playing volleyball, and where the rest of the team is all women, and yoga. There is a hilarious side story sort of episode where their cat Gin is trying to take a dump outside, and another cat keeps saying, "No, not there, not there." I almost peed myself laughing at that one. The whole thing is so farcical, and so many double entendres with references to the criminal underworld. And if you need some fun, I do recommend this. It was actually Nyambura of 100 on Books who got me started on this, and one of my subscribers, Barbara Bothling, said that she was picking up volume 2, and I didn't want to get left behind, so Barbara, now I've read volume 2. Here's the rubber ducky with a little bath towel on its head. There's lots of visual humor like this as well. Next up is an audiobook. There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job. It's by Kikuko Tsumura, and the translation is by Polly Barton. In this novel, we have a Japanese woman who is suffering from job burnout, and her unemployment payments run out, and so she absolutely has to go out and find a job, and an employment counselor helps her with some contract positions. So I think in the book she goes through 5 different jobs, and each one of them has something sort of supernatural or very strange about it. Like in the job that she has putting up posters, her posters are created by the municipality, and they are things to do with the public good, but there's a rival postering thing going on by a group called Lonely No More. Something seems to be underhanded about this group, and it gets kind of cutthroat about putting these posters up. At the Lonely No More social club, she meets this guy who talks about his experience at his last workplace, where he ended up quitting, and his parents couldn't understand why, just because his boss yelled at him every day. Like, what kind of reason was that to quit? She also has a job that's in a hut in a big forest, and the catch is that the forest might be haunted. All of which is used by the author to talk about our psychic relationship with work itself. And it's brilliant, it's funny, it's intriguing, and it was Natalie of Curious Reader who reminded me about how much I wanted to read this book. When she talked about it, she said that she really enjoys reading books about work. And so I thought of a few for you, Natalie, including a couple of Japanese ones. Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuka Imamura. Temporary by Hilary Leichter. Finna by Nino Capri. We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Burvolts, and the title that's practically a classic in this genre, Then We Came to the End by Joshua Ferris. And recently, the booktuber Lisa in Bookland put together a list of her favorite books about work. And I had read one of them that she had on her list, Pull of the Stars by Emma Donahue. I will link her channel down below, and all the other people that I've mentioned as well, if you want to see what other books she recommends. And in that book serendipity sort of way of the house husband is also about work and the decisions we make about our occupation. And in this next book I'm going to tell you about, Where the Wild Ladies Are by Aoko Matsuda, also translated by Polly Barton, just like There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job. A lot of the stories in here also have to do with employment. Now, I think every one of these stories involve ghosts, and the stories are very lightly interconnected. So, for example, many of the ghosts work for this sort of mysterious Mr. Tay, who has a lot of different manufacturing and other things going on, including the making of incense, funeral incense, that when you burn it will bring a ghost of your loved one to you. Each one of these stories references a traditional Japanese tale, and there are notes at the back for each of them explaining, what the source material. Well, I found that really interesting, and the whole tone of it is so humorous and fresh and tongue-in-cheek. I just thought these were fantastic. I'm going to give you a sample. The doorbell rang again. Who could it be? A pushy door-to-door salesman? Somebody soliciting for some organization? A burglar? A rapist? A pair of rapists? A whole gang of rapists? And then another possibility occurred to me, appending itself to the terrifying list of options, and I found myself opening the door without having meant to. My aunt was standing outside. There are some door-to-door salesmen in the later part of the book. There's a young man, Shigeru, who, fresh out of university, had quickly become what was colloquially termed a flitter, someone who bunny-hopped from one fixed-term contract to another without ever becoming a permanent employee. These days, with permanent positions becoming something of a rarity and companies taking on equal numbers of female employees, being a flitter had become more or less the norm, and the word was losing its original significance. Nonetheless, Shigeru still found the term appropriate for his current state. Both materially and spiritually speaking, he was a flitter. And that connected so well with the character in the book I just told you about, No Such Thing as an Easy Job. Yeah. One of the characters in here is a kitsune, somebody who can shapeshift between being a fox and a human. There's a character who's a child-rearing ghost, which works well for a single mother. There's a lesbian relationship in one of the stories, and there's also an asexual character in one of the other stories. So lots of queer rep in here. I wouldn't call it a totally queer book, but good representation and so much fun. I really enjoyed this. 4.5 stars. It was actually really hard to pick my favorite book, but that's this last one that I'm going to be telling you about. And it's called Tell Me Pleasant Things About Immortality. It's by Lindsay Wong, who's a Chinese-Canadian collection of short stories that reference Asian mythology. So we've got a story in here of fox spirits who are in a university sorority, a number of different kinds of ghosts, including some that have these long red tongues that are corrosive. There are frog women. Oh, and in Where the Wild Ladies Are, there's a giant toad spirit thing as well, which I think is this on the cover. Someone who helps out women in distress. You know that novel, My Sister, the Serial Killer? Well, in this book we have a short story that could be called My Father, the Serial Killer, except it's called Happy Birthday. Here's a bit. Their father, who was, yes, an asshole, could not be a serial killer. For Christ's sake, his ba played squash, lovingly read Martha Stewart magazines, knew how to cook zesty Canto cuisine, but still, why was there a dead girl inside him? When he looked back at his father again, he felt something matchy-matchy rattling around in his intestines. There was an ugly void inside his family where their souls, like a hearty blob of red bean pastry filling, should have been. In the title story, it's being told by a woman who's 380 years old. She says this plant that gives you immortality, if consumed in excessive quantities, it will grant eternal life or kill you. People who seek immortality come to China to consume the plant. It's like gambling in Las Vegas. Everyone loses. In another story, the apocalypse is happening. This is in Sinking Houses. It's a general rule that happy people do not thrive in apocalypses. Here's the first sentence of another story. It was the year of the snake, the year of perpetual and extraordinary sorrow, when my father turned into a sofa. Okay, that should give you a good idea about whether or not this book is for you. The audiobook has 4 different narrators: Eunice, Wong, Nancy Wu, Garland, Chang, and Austin Koo, and I thought it was fantastic. And I think you all are fantastic for sticking with me, watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and I also appreciate hearing from you, so please say hello down in the comments thing down below. Let me know what you think about anything I've talked about today, and I am going to leave you with 2 minutes of Bumblebees that I filmed earlier this week in the plants right behind me, which are big root geraniums, and they're almost finished flowering already. The summer goes so fast here. The flowers are open one day and dead the next. That's just the way it is. It's like living life on fast forward. Love you all. Bye for now.